Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Ryan118, and it's that time of year again, that time of year where rumours start flying about who's going in and who's going out, and transfer rumours are flying about for every team. Today we're here to specifically talk about Celtic. Now, in the future on the channel, I've been working on ideas on how I'm going to try and have a weekly kind of football talk series where it'll be more than just Celtic. I'm going to try to bring in other Scottish football talk and talk about the English Premier League and stuff. Although I give that a lot of abuse sometimes for the fans and such, I still do enjoy watching it on the odd occasion. So, I mean, I'm looking to talk about that soon, but this series, Celtic Transfer Talk, is back. Obviously, I've done this around January time. If you were subscribed at the time of the channel, I've grown massively since then. So if you're new to this series' format, it's just a transfer talk, a transfer rumour roundup, if you like, of everything to do with the ins and outs of what's going on with Celtic. There's a few rumours starting off today, and a few rumours that have been flying about for the past little while now, and it's coming to that time where we do need to consider, Celtic as a team have to consider who they're signing next season, and that's when all the rumours start coming out from every newspaper source, every media source, and I'm going to just talk about it and give them my opinion on such. And today, specifically, I'm just going to concentrate on some rumours that have been coming up recently and some points to talk about, and what we should do maybe to improve for next season. So we're going to jump right into things. Transfer rumours starting off today. Dominic Solanke, you've probably heard this rumour already. Chelsea striker, only 19 years of age, a very young guy. I don't think he's actually had a first team game for Chelsea this season, but he has been linked heavily with Celtic. He has turned down a new contract, a contract extension at Chelsea, and apparently Celtic are coming very close to landing a contract with the lad, so that could be a very good signing. Dominic Solanke, in my opinion, actually looks like he could be a decent player if you'd gone by his Football Manager stats anyway, but it looks as though it could be good, and it's the same situation as what happened with Moussa Dembele last year. Moussa Dembele, obviously only 19 years old, and his contract was expiring at Fulham, and we paid a small fee to bring him in, and basically a free transfer. There obviously was some sort of form of fees you have to pay out, and that's what's happening here with Dominic Solanke. The fee that has been thrown around is about 400 grand, and for a 19-year-old, if he's going to actually get played, it could be a big transfer. It could be really, really good, and it could be really worth it. Look what's happened with Dembele. The amount of money we paid there was very little. We brought him in basically in a free transfer, and he has had a phenomenal season. The talks of him going to Chelsea and Manchester City, Manchester United and all this for £40 million. If this could come in, can we repeat it with Solanke? Who knows? I don't think he would. That's where the question lies with Solanke. What role does he kind of play if we bring him in? Because if Dembele stays, I don't see him starting over Dembele unless he's racking in goals at a better rate, which I doubt, because he might not even get the chance to do that. And then we've obviously got Griffiths as our backup. So where does Solanke lie there, and where does he get a chance to play? Do we move him position? What do we do? Do we move Dembele position? We wouldn't move Dembele position. Do we move Solanke to a winger? What do we do? Does he get a game over Griffiths? Who knows? That's the questions have to be asked with signing. But in my opinion, it's a good signing for the mere fact if you're getting a chance to sign somebody so promising at such a young price and at such a young age. The potential is there. Like, we could loan him out, I don't know, if we're not going to play him, but if you're getting a chance to make any sort of profit, if we're only paying 400 grand, profit is there to be made, whether that's a profit of 600 grand or 60 million, whatever it is, there's a chance for profit to be made there, and I believe it could be a very good sign. I'd hope to see him get a couple of games and hopefully would score some goals. He seems like he's got potential. Last season at Vitesse, I've got the stats written down here, he was on loan to Vitesse last season, as every Chelsea player does at a point in their career, gets a loan out to Vitesse, and Billy Gilmore will probably be there sometime soon. But he scored, seven goals in 26 appearances for Vitesse last season. I will be looking down, sorry. Which, in Eredivisie, 7 goals, quite good. I don't know if all those are starts as well, those appearances, so, that's showing promise. I mean, and then for Chelsea under 23s, 24 appearances, 15 goals, so he can score goals, and the level of Scottish football to be, debated. Can he do it up here? If he can do it at a low level down in English lower, younger leagues, whatever you want to say, I believe he could come up here and transfer that skill and hopefully score some goals for Celtic, and I reckon it could be a good signing. So Dominic Solanke looking as though he will be coming to Celtic. We don't know yet, but apparently, according to all the media sources, that is looking quite likely. So we'll wait and see how time passes. Moving on from that, Emilio Izaguirre, as far as I'm hearing, is signing a new contract at Celtic. A bit confusing. I don't know if you remember this time last year we were all saying farewell to him. We thought that was the end. We had the banner going around the stadium in the last game of the season, farewell Izaguirre and all the rest of it. The chants were ringing round for him, and then he signed a contract extension for a year. At the end of this season, expect him to leave again, but no, we're keeping him around. And I think it might come down to this point, the fear of losing Kieran Tierney. I reckon we won't lose Kieran Tierney. I reckon he'll stay here. I think he's too much of a fan of Celtic to want to move at this point. Yeah, he'll probably move in the future. Let's be realistic. He's not going to stay his whole career at Celtic. As much as we'd love him to, I don't think he will. But I mean, he's not going to move next season, I don't think. I think we'll keep him. But I think Izaguirre has got to be that kind of safe net in case he does go and then we can't find a better left back for a while. Then Izaguirre is always there to stand, and Izaguirre can do a good job standing in. Maybe not for European games, but for Scottish games he's good enough. He's a good left back, isn't the most important of positions, and the way we play football, you know, Izaguirre would do fine. He would do a job, and I think this extension's a smart idea. He's a good player. I still think he can do a job. Obviously he's nowhere near the level of Kieran Tierney. He was years ago, of course, but not now. Tierney's worlds apart. But this extension, I do see it as the kind of let's be safe in case we do lose Tierney, because the 20 million has been thrown about. Apparently Chelsea, Man United, Newcastle want to bring Tierney in, and it might come to the point where the board have no choice but to sell Tierney, which I hope doesn't happen, and I hope Kieran Tierney, you know, decides to stay at Celtic, and I think he will. But Izaguirre extending his contract, that's recently just been, I just saw that on Facebook about 10 minutes before recording this actually, so I think that's happening. Don't know if it's 100% true. I'll leave the links to stuff in the description for you to check out yourself. Patrick Roberts. Oh man, Patrick Roberts. What is going to happen with Patrick Roberts? Oh, pray, cross your fingers that we managed to keep Patrick Roberts. This is my point of view. If I'm Brendan Rodgers, right, and he said this a while ago in a press conference that there's only two or three main signings that he wants to bring in. There's only 3 players he wants to bring in, and there was rumours floating about that we're getting £15 million to spend. If this is my personal opinion, if I was Brendan Rodgers and I had £15 million there to spend, I give Guardiola a wee bell on the phone, alright, how much you want for Patrick Roberts. If Guardiola's willing to get rid of Patrick Roberts, which I think he will, genuinely, I don't think Guardiola's going to want Patrick Roberts. Number one, he never signed him for Man City. Number two, Guardiola's getting £300 million to spend next year. I'm sure they're not going to need Patrick Roberts, and they've already got De Bruyne, Asane, all the rest of it, so I don't think he's going to want Roberts, genuinely. I think he might be wanting to loan him out again, which we should pounce on if he does, but if he's willing to sell him, and Patrick Roberts is willing to come back to Celtic, say, like, they signed him for what? Well, they were meant to sign him for £12 million, but really, they've only signed him for about 6 or something, I'm believing. I've been told anyway. The rest is all, you know, future instalments and stuff. But if I'm Brendan Rodgers and I phone him up and he says, right, 10 million, I would genuinely, I'm not bothered. I would spend 10 million out of the 15 million on Patrick Roberts. That's just my point of view. I don't know where you would lie. Would you spend that highly for Patrick Roberts? Personally, I would. I think he is fantastic, and he would be one of the greatest players we've had in recent years. He already is. He's got so much skill. He's so good on the ball. He's so good at a top level. He's good in European games. We've seen that. And that's the type of player we need if we want to go far in Europe. If we want to do what Martin O'Neill done in 2003, we need players like Patrick Roberts. And if he goes, want 10 or 11 million, fuck it, I'd sacrifice it if I was Brendan Rodgers. I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do. Don't know what you would do. Let me know. That's just my opinion. But Patrick Roberts, hopefully, we manage to get him up for another year, maybe. Hopefully. He said that he would like to go back to Man City, but I think if it gets to the point where he's not going to get a game, I think he would happily come back to Celtic, and I hope he does come back to Celtic, and I think every fan hopes he comes back to Celtic, and it would be massive. We need him for European games. James Forrest, he's a good wee player, but I don't think he can cut it at the top level in the Champions League, and I think Patrick Roberts is what we need. But my opinion is, if we can afford it, I would spend the money on Roberts. I would spend all 15 million if we had to. Genuinely, I think he's that good. I wouldn't mind sacrificing other signings for one more season. We've got a good enough squad to go and do what we have to do next season, go and win domestically. So I'll put the brakes on signing more players. I've already made a big signing in Kouassi. Not a big signing, but we spent £3 million in Kouassi Abuhi in January. So, you know, I would, genuinely, that's my opinion. I don't know, let me know your opinion, what you would do with Patrick Roberts in the comments below. And the last thing we're just going to talk about on this episode of Celtic Transfer Talk is, where do we go next season? Who do we sign? What do we need to do to improve, to go to that next level? Who do we bring in, and who should we bring in? This is what I want to know, your guys' opinions. And there's not much we can do. Patrick Roberts is the priority for me. If I was Brendan Rodgers, I would try and bring him in. He's, in my opinion, the priority. But it's like, I'd love to sign John McGinn. Genuinely, I think John McGinn's a great player, and they just won championship. Was it player or young player of the season? He won one of it anyway. I'd love to bring him in, but where does he go? That's the question. We don't really need him, do we? Scott Brown's there. We've got Armstrong there. We've got Abuhi, who we brought in January. We've got McGregor. We've got Beaton, as much as I don't really like Beaton. Does McGinn really get a place? My one else went off. Oh no, hello. Does McGinn really get a place there? Right back. that is the questions we need to ask. Like, there's players we can sign, players we can spend money on, but where do we actually need improvement in this starting 11? Because I don't see any, like, as we need players to take us to the next level in European competition, that's true, but it's like players have played so well to get thrown out of the team, and I've said that so many times before the channel. It makes things so difficult for us to go and sign players. But McGinn is a player who I said I would like to see us bring in. Well, obviously going for Solanke here, so that's a striker. We don't need strikers. That's the last thing we need. I think we need to go in a bit more depth on the left wing, maybe the right wing, especially if Roberts doesn't come back. I think wingers are the main priorities, and maybe a commanding defender. We've got Tierney, who obviously don't need to replace. We've got his backup in Izaguirre. We've got Lustig, who's great, getting a bit older, which is why we might need to look into getting someone there. Centre halves, I've got 3 great centre halves in Simunovic, Boyata and Sviatchenko. But I would maybe like to see us bring in a bit more of a aggressive kind of leading character maybe in the centre half positions. And goalkeeper, Gordon's getting older, but he's still got it, and that's to our European standards. I think he's great still. So where do we go? Let me know what you think. That is the last thing I'm going to talk about today. I'll try and keep this maybe a weekly, but it's mostly when big transfer rumours start arising that I will bring out an episode of this. So guys, if you've enjoyed this episode of Celtic Transfer Talk, you know what to do. Hit the like button. I said button. Oh, I pronounced button with a T's. Oh, I don't like that. Subscribe. I'll see you later.